Hey there, Capsuleers. You're listening to Low Life, an EVE Online podcast discussing life in low-security space, hosted by Cypher and Spence. The Low Life podcast is not an official CCP Games production. It is a labor of love by two veteran EVE players with a passion for the game, and low-sec life in particular. The views expressed on this podcast are their own. Warning for all you sensitive types out there, we do cuss and troll on this podcast, so listener discretion is advised. The show can be found at evelowlife.podbean.com and on your favorite podcast dissemination apps. And now, on with the show. Hey everybody, this is Erdis Ganel, aka Doc from EVE Low Life Podcast. It's been a few weeks since we've recorded. Real life's busy. It's that time of the summer, so everybody's been kind of off doing their own things. It looks like EVE has been busy itself, not necessarily all in-game, in the meta as well on various social media platforms such as Reddit, and we'll be talking about that today. We're bringing in another co-host, which we kind of talked about a few episodes ago that we'd be doing. I'm going to let him do his own intro here in a second so he can talk about his corporation, but I have Johan Pendersen with me, who is a longtime EVE player as well. Johan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, again, like Doc said, I'm Johan Pendersen. I am head cheerleader and hype man for our corp, Beskar. This was the way. We are a high-sec, null-sec, low-sec corp that is affiliated with Hardly Competent as well. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you were able to make it. It's been quite an interesting journey for your corp as well as mine for starting off in Slightly Competent and then going to Hardly Competent so we can get into more null-sec ops, which I know this is a low-sec focused show, but just about everything we're going to talk about tonight is kind of based around null ops, but it does influence low. So it kind of makes sense.
No, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing right now is that, and CCP needs to find a way to kind of to work this to where they're not tied so closely together. But nullsec and lowsec have always shared this kind of love-hate relationship. Whenever I first moved to nullsec, I remember hating the lowsec guys because they're the guys who just plowed me every time I came to Jita or Amar. Having become one of the lowsec guys, it's a much underappreciated way to play this game.
I've enjoyed the null content that we've been doing lately. It's been over a decade since I've done null content, so it's refreshing because it's, different and getting back to something I haven't done in a while. I think at the end of the day, I still enjoy going back to my roots and going to low. The guys in the corp, we've been doing a lot of low sec roams, and then we've been doing what we call low sec light, which is going through Stain, because Stain is a very weird place for nullsec. It acts like nullsec in that you can use bubbles and whatnot, but there's NPC stations and people don't leave them. It's very weird down there.
Oh, it's kind of reminds me of like CVA Pravi, only with nobody in local.
Right? It was weird. Last night we did a Hecate roam last night, and there was about 5 of us. Went in through the new gate that's there, the newish gate that's in Salmoner, and away we went. And, we saw some people here and there, but other than some guy in a shit-fit Megathron that was gating, and we guess he just wasn't paying attention, that we grabbed and killed, we really didn't see anything. I mean, when we went all the way down through like warped intention space and into period basis, and other than saying we got into one system and there was about 17 people in local, we were like, oh, cool, spicy. Maybe we'll get a fight. Maybe this is where we're going to welt for the night. Nothing. Nobody would come out on scan for a little bit. We went and tried to find him. He was tethered. Nobody wanted to take a fight. So I'm not knocking those guys down there, but it's just kind of a weird area for that. Like if that had been our home areas, response fleets would have been flying at us within a few minutes.
One of the things I've always heard about Stain is that that's where the Russians live, So I wonder maybe if you just cut them in an off time zone. Sometimes whenever I get on in the morning, I'm U.S. Central, so there's usually some dudes on. They tend to have some names that I can't pronounce properly, so I wonder if that might be just a time zone thing.
Could be. I know there's a few Asian corps that are down there that we run into as well. There was a guy in Aguila that was from, I forget the name of their group. Anyway, they're like right when you come into F7 and Stain from the Salmoner Gate. We see them there kind of frequently. The guy was in Aguila doing his thing, and we noticed he went to the Sun, so we went to the Sun, and we're gonna brawl it out. And then we kind of just did this weird little dance where he kind of wouldn't commit. That was that. And, we've also noticed, here's some free intel from people. We've seen Initiative running a lot of people through there lately. Don't know what's up with that, but we've been running into a decent amount of Initiative players in in Stain.
Yeah, another group I've seen a lot down there, Warren Wormhole. They seem to have taken an interest in the area. So they had a bash of a structure that Fraternity actually brought a Kiki fleet down for. I was in local in the low-sec area, right there where the Saunier Gate is, and all of a sudden local hits 84 members, and it's like, oh crap. Just cloaked up and hit D-scan and got to watch FRAT parade through and then check Z-kill, and not too much longer later there was a dead structure. So just something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up FRAT because we're going to be talking about them here in a few minutes. So that's kind of what's been going on lately. And I know like you guys have been doing the same thing we are, which is like kind of slowly moving into like new types of content. So it's been a transition period for us, and a good one at that, because we've been getting more content with our Wrecking Crew buddies. But at the same time, there's a lot going on the other parts of Eve. Some is interesting, and then some is just downright depressing.
So that's definitely a thing. I guess the bigger parts are bleeding over into the rest of Eve. The null blocks are controlling more than just the gameplay. There's a lot of narrative that's being spread around.
Speaking of the narrative, one of the things I want to get this one out of the way first. We kind of have 3 topics for you people tonight, for our good friends out there. The tertiary topic is going to be what's going on right now in social media on Eve, and how it's kind of a dirty pool situation. The second topic we're going to talk a bit about is World War B. You can't get away from it. Everybody's talking about it, and that kind of bleeds in from that tertiary topic to the secondary. But our primary topic tonight, focus of nostalgia and also looking forward to the future, is going to be about value versus cost in Eve. And we'll get into that more here in a little bit. The whole thing that brought up thinking about this morning, Johan, because originally it wasn't in the show notes, but I was reading on Reddit, and I know people can be like, well, your first problem was you're on Reddit, right? My first thing this morning, get up, doing my morning ablutions, and there is this post on Reddit. It is a screenshot. Matterall joins in with Olmeca without realizing that his hypocrisy. We'll put links to this stuff in the show notes. But Matterall's been in the Reddit news a lot lately because he's been saying some pretty weird stuff. I've watched his show in the past. And, people find me to be annoying. We all have the media outlets that we like, that we don't like. Some people won't watch Meta Show. They don't like Mittens. They won't watch Matterall show. They feel he's biased. Well, we're all biased. It's a game. He's always been kind of dry for me. So I don't watch his stuff too much. But the man does put out copious amounts of media for Eve. I mean, it's his thing, and I get it. But lately, he's been on this kick where he likes to use political buzzwords that are used in the news. This one post that I'm talking about, it says, Dave Matterall. And let me caveat this by saying, as far as I know, this is legit. It's not doctored. Okay. And the reason why I think it's legit is even Matani responded to it with a blue, basically making fun of him. So Dave Matterall apparently said, interesting breakdown illustrating deplorable tactics used by Eve players, especially from Imperium. And that was in a response or a retweet from Olmeca Gold that said, PAPI has announced their final push. I've been pointing at parallels between rhetorical strategies of the Imperium and the alt-right. I think that it's the best reason to want the Imperium gone. I meant to do a video about it, but converted it to a tweet series because no time. My biggest issue I have going on right now is I play this game for fun. I play this game as an escape. Gaming is escapism. I do it to get away from the real world and all the stupid shit that goes on in the real world. I know many other people do that as well. We don't necessarily want our politics to bleed into our gaming time.
Absolutely. And that's a big thing whenever you start looking at what you do to get her away from the real world, turning the TV off, tuning out on the news, letting things just kind of disappear. I definitely don't tune into Eve to hear about politics in the real world. I want to know who's killing who and why. And those are the types of politics I'm interested in. I don't really think too much about, I wonder what's on CNN right now. It's more of, I want to know who's pissed at who and who's trying to kill who and why and where. And, where was the big fight? Oh, there was billions lost. What happened? Checking Udema's kill feed on Z-Kill just for lulz. That's what I'm into. Yeah, 100%. It's my belief. It's my opinion that is the majority of Eve players. First of all, the politics portion of World War B, and even going back, we can go all the way back to 2004 with the original mega wars between the alliances. The
propaganda that was put out was fun. It was creative. It still is. A lot of it still is. I mean, I don't like Karma Fleet. I think they're a bunch of douchebags, but they put out a lot of stuff, and some of it ends up being pretty cool and pretty good.
Oh, they've got a music video up about the big Titan bash where everybody couldn't jump in, couldn't jump out. It was in MX2 or M2X, I can't remember. I was in test at that time. You know, it was major drama, but they made it, you know, made light of it with "we didn't crash the server." It said to the music of "we didn't start a fire." So it was just kind of a, you know, a playful poke at something that really had everybody up in arms, and but it's productive politics, I guess, in EVE.
Right. It's we're going to have fun with it. And because EVE is a giant sandbox, we're going to have our own politics, and we are going to have propaganda and news reporting about it, just like as if it were real, but it's in our microcosm. When they are bleeding this stuff over, when people are bleeding this stuff over from real world and using terms like alt-right and, you know, whatever else, it starts to wear on the nerves. For me, it starts to wear on the nerves. I do not like to see that. You know, Karma Fleet put out a thing 3 days ago. It was the PAPI war effort, and it's a video, but it's set to the Starship Troopers Verhoeven movie with, you know, like the "Would you like to know more?" And it was creative and it was funny. And again, it's focused on EVE. It's focused on the players of EVE. And it's not bleeding real world stuff into it. So they took another pop culture reference and brought it into our game, and that's fun and creative. But when you start trying to make people, when you start putting people in these real world boxes inside of a game, i.e., I can't like you because anyone who is a believer in Bernie Sanders politics should hate you.
That's very much something I've found in this game, is that I've gotten to know people and gotten to be good friends with them, and then realized, holy crap, if I knew you in the real world, our interests don't align. We don't have the same politics. We don't have the same, you know, social beliefs or, you know, what have you. Once you get to know them in the context of EVE, it's like, wow, we really are all the same. And this is truly just a great game to lose yourself in. And then all of a sudden, their personal beliefs don't matter. And I think that's one thing that needs to stay the heck out of this game. Is there's enough crap, there's enough, you know, I guess, partisanship, there's enough politics in the world, there's enough, you know, reasons for us not to like each other if you start analyzing everybody's personal things, that we need to just find a way to lose ourselves and truly just be who we are as people, and realize that, you know what, if we can team up with the Russians in a video game, if we can team up with China in a video game, if we can get the whole world to work together, you know, in a sense like World War B. Granted, it's just a video game and it's a big video game fight, but look what's happened. You've got the Chinese, you've got Russians, you've got, you know, the US, Australians, you've got everybody working together and on different sides, you know. So this is a big thing where if we can do this in a freaking video game, why do we need to bring real world politics into this area? It just doesn't need to happen.
100% correct. You know, and it's not just national borders that the game transcends. And I'm not trying to get I'm just not trying to get weird with it, but it's also socioeconomic and educational lines are also blurred in this game.
Oh man, I've played with guys who are extremely wealthy. Whenever they're talking about their problems, I'm like, damn, you know, we were trying to decide if we had a Domino's coupon or a Pizza Hut coupon tonight. And then there was guys, it's like, oh, you're ordering pizza? We're getting, you know, I've got ramen from last night that I ate half of. And it's like, you know, there really is every different type of person in this game. And I think that's really key, because sometimes the guys that you look up to in EVE, if you met them on the street, you'd be like, holy crap, you're just a nobody. And that's an incorrect view. This really gives you the pure essence of who somebody is and who they want to be. That doesn't matter who they are in real life or what promotion they may have got, or did they get the chance to go to college.
When Vile Rat was murdered, the entire EVE community, whether you liked him or not, whether you liked goons or not, came together to mourn, and they raised money for his family. That was something that was done for the player. It had nothing to do with who he was in the game. The assistant spy master to Mitani, who drove so much meta content for them to do what they did in the early parts of Eve, when they were really, coming up and just pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. Big Country passed away. People mourned him. He was a good part of the community. We saw during COVID that when last year, when the heart of COVID was hitting, there were folks that had passed away from COVID in our community. People came together to mourn them. Everybody giving their salutes, lighting sinos. This was the kind of Eve. This is what I expect from the community. It has generally been us versus CCP stupid ideas. And I'm not saying CCP is stupid. Just sometimes they come up with some pretty fucking retarded ideas, and we try to hold them accountable as a community for that. What we're seeing now is our fighting in the game that used to have that blurriness. Well, now we're fighting these people, but now we're friends and we're space bros, and next week we'll be fighting each other. Now there's people that are blurring those lines and crossing them into the real world and saying, I cannot ally because you are a Democrat or you are a Republican or your actions speak to being someone who supports Boris's government in England, or I don't believe in Brexit, so I don't think that should be a thing, so I can't be with this European, this British based group. Whatever it is, I'm just throwing examples out there. But it's asinine. It's ignorant and it's asinine, and it bothers me. I mean, I could feel it. I'm trying to hold my anger in check, and it's not anger at Matterall himself. I think the man is caught up in this, and he has some anger himself about things, and it is bleeding into the thing that he loves, and that's fucked up. And he'll never listen to my podcast, but were he to listen to my podcast, I wish he would just take this to heart. And you know what, man? Go have a fucking beer with somebody. Go to Eve Vegas, have a beer with some of these guys, and you'll see that they're not as bad as you think they are. Now, there's a couple people in Eve that I've known through the years going to FanFest and whatnot that I'd love to punch in the teeth because they're just shitty people. Just because we're all gamers in Eve doesn't make us good people. And I know there's people out there that would love to drop kick me. But for the most part, we're normal people that we can get along. We can find something to get along with each other.
I remember during the big war between Test and Frat. I mean, it was pretty bitter. There was a lot of animosity there. There was a lot of things in local that I didn't always agree with seeing people post, but they were definitely put there. We lost, and I wish I could remember exactly who it was. We lost one of our FCs. He was just a skirm FC. He took out some fleets. He passed away suddenly, and intel comes over. There's a frat fleet coming. Do not shoot them. And it was Villy posting this. And they had brought Sino ships to come to our Keepstar and DTAC P, light Sinos with us to sit there for a Sino vigil. And it was like, that says a lot about the player base. It's like we can be calling each other names and the most horrible, heinous shit in the world while we're shooting each other. But when it really came down to it, just like with Vile Rat, it was about the player, it was about the person, and all the other crap went aside because it is a video game. And that's, I think, what we need to keep in mind is that this is a game and we need to keep it that way. These are human beings behind the keyboard.
Correct. With our own struggles, with our own problems, with our own families, with our own loves, with our own dislikes. And I'm not saying that means that we have to, that it means that we have to get along with everybody. It's not what I'm saying. But for the most part, we can get along with most people. That right there should be the thing. If the best way to get along with somebody that you don't know well is to find common ground. It's psychology. It's a sales technique. In sales, we call it getting up next to somebody. For instance, if I'm going to sell you for my business that I run, I run a dog training business. So if I want you to buy dog training from me, and I'm going to try to find out some stuff about you, so that way I can find out what, and it's not a negative manipulation, it's a positive manipulation because I'm trying to help you with something, just to fulfill a need. I'll just give an example. This week I talked to a woman who is a special education educator. So when I was talking to her about dog training, I was explaining to her that my dog trainers that work for me, the way they train the dogs, and I would relate everything back to, we're all mammals, and a lot of the psychology that goes behind training a dog is just like what we do when we're educating children. A lot of the examples, we try to do positive, not negative, because we want them to want to do it because they respect us, not because they fear the punishment for not doing it. The fear doesn't always work. Sometimes you got to use the stick, but most of the times you can use the carrot. So it's the same thing with what we're going through in Eve. If we want to play this game and have fun, we need to remember that we all start out in a rookie ship trying to figure this game out, and eventually we get shot and potted somewhere. And that's really what it all comes down to. And we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit when we have our little Rifter talk here in a little bit.
I was going to say, you get shot and potted until you can fly a Rifter.
That's right, baby. And then it's game on. There's another post that will be in the show notes. It's another Reddit post, and it's a screen capture. I think it's from the Matterall's Discord, and it says, "Careful on the Alex/Matani talk. Meta and people are fine, but it's a slippery slope, and no one should be messed with in real life." I get what he's saying, and he's 100% correct. I think the main problem is he doesn't realize that he's breaking his own rule when he says things like alt-right or things along those lines, where you start bringing in those other terms. And I know he's not the one that
sure those are really
said
emotional words, especially in the United States right now.
Sure, and it does reflect around the world too, because other people look at us and our politics and they're like, "What is going on over there? That land of the free, and they're doing this." But I mean, it wasn't the alt-right term. It was deplorable. I corrected. Olmeca said alt-right, but he said deplorable. And we know where that word comes from. It's a Hillary Clinton term, and it's what she used to describe 53% of Americans. She called them deplorables. So that became a polarizing statement. So when you throw that out there, that you are polarizing your discussion the second you do it. Interesting breakdown illustrating deplorable tactics. Now he could say, "Well, I didn't capitalize it." So no, but you knew what you were doing because you've dropped other terms in there in your talks lately as well, Mr. Matterall, that were specifically showing that you are on one side of the political spectrum and that you believe that all of the goons are the opposite. You've used the word fascism. You've used fascist. You've talked about why people should not like the goons because of ABC real world politics. Okay, and you know what? I'm going to real quick. This popped up an hour ago, Johan. Real quick, I am not vetting it before I read it. So I am reading this straight off of the Eve subreddit, okay? It's just a short couple paragraphs. It's by a guy named Blue Donuts with 2 S's. It was posted 1 hour ago from a recording, and the tagline is "Real World Politics in Eve. My first rant, sorry for my bad English. There's always been a huge problem with a few very toxic individuals that for some odd reason wants to take real-life politics into the game and then use real-life events where millions of people died. This is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. It is disrespectful against the victims that died in that conflict, and it's disrespectful against the victims that survived that conflict, and it is disrespectful against the families that are left without their loved ones. This is a game. EVE Online is not the real world. We play this to escape the real world and have fun, but I'm getting sick of the distance some people will go. It is not okay at any point to compare anyone in this game to right-wing whatever, fascist or worse." This guy's summing up what we're just talking about. "Right-wing or worse, or to drag real-world politics into EVE. You can call us the cancer of the game, and we will tell you to eat our ass, but there is a line where you can disrespect victims by downplaying their pain when you compare a group in a game using real-world events and politics. Seen Matterall hint at some very toxic comparisons, but the crazy Twitter rant was too much. Anyone who supports a person that uses the people's very real pain to make a point in a video game is a narcissist, because only a narcissist would not understand that people had to die for you to make your stupid point in a game. How wrong is this? Just stop using politics in the game and start slinging insults like normal people." And see, to me, that's a very Eve thing. The guy's not saying be nice to everyone. He's saying just if you're going to shit it up with a little bit of decency. I mean, one of the things that I've always enjoyed is shitting up local. It's something I've done since the beginning of EVE. I was one of those guys that would post tentacle porn links in local. I was always bad about it. I loved shitting up local. And I've learned from some of the best through the past 17 years. 2 weeks ago was 17 years. Yeah, 17 years I've been playing the game, 2004.
Happy birthday to you, Aaron.
Thank you very much. There was a line that we didn't cross. There were certain things that we didn't do. And it wasn't that people could say, "Oh, harden the fuck up, guys. You can, it's EVE. You can say what you want." Well, you can say what you want, but there are repercussions for it, just like the real world. And there were certain topics we just didn't touch on. And it was more out of respect. And I think that us as like my guys as being military guys, we're more sensitive to certain things than others with things. Just like a Jewish player would probably be sensitive to any type of Holocaust references. or folks from Germany would be sensitive to Hitler comparisons.
It's funny you bring that up. I had a couple guys in the corp that I was in, and it was a real big issue. And they were going to leave corp. They were German players, and someone had told them about mining. Every null block has their mining rules, and they had just mentioned the mining rules, and they're like, "He said, quit being such a fucking Nazi about it," And this guy was like, "Wait a minute." He said, "You're not going to call me a Nazi," and he took very big offense to that. But high school kids in the U.S. throw that term around like it's nothing. Right. But let me tell you, in other parts of the world, it is a big deal. So, yeah, you have to keep in mind that what you're doing may not offend you, but it definitely can offend somebody. And, let's be honest, this is not a game full of snowflakes. You can tell anybody, like you said, to eat your ass in local. I've posted some pretty heinous shit myself. This is what it is. This is Eve. This is really Eve. We've all seen the video, right?
Right. And, a little diplomacy 101 for the folks out there. There's a term that we use in sales called know your audience. And again, going back to the getting up next to somebody, if you want to talk with someone, whether you want that interaction to be positive or negative, you need to know your audience. Like you said, let's say I really wanted to piss off somebody from Germany. Well, I'll start dropping Hitler references. I'll start dropping World War II references. I'll start with the 2 World War losing streak comments, whatever you want to do. There's ways that you can get under someone's skin. And when it's intentional, then, if you're doing it in a way that sometimes we do it in Eve, which is I'm trying to get under your skin because we're fucking with each other. That's one thing. When you are group basing, like the whole, using the alt-right statements and deplorable statements, and any person that believes X should not like any person who believes Y, and making these blanket statements. That's where we start crossing a line where it's no longer a game, what you're doing. You are no longer being within the meta of Eve. So to me, Matterall and people that have been doing this have crossed out of the meta. Now, that being said, before I start being accused of being a goon or something, on the other side of that, Matani through the years has frequently crossed that line and exited what is the meta of Eve and gone into real life. He's been banned for it.
Yeah, I find Mittens to be pretty offensive, and I don't have any knowledge of the guy. I have no relationship with the guy. I've never flown with the guy, but I just don't freaking like him. And the good thing is that's my privilege to do. But, my opinion of goon culture is how toxic it is. However, 3.5 years of test and fighting goons, that's just kind of the way that, things roll. Whenever that's who's killing you and that's who's hunting you, and that's just your, it's team A versus B. That's, I was on team A or team B, whichever you want to see it as. So, yeah, I can definitely, it polarizes you one way or another, but those are the politics you need to have in Eve. You need to know, okay, well, I'm in this corp and this alliance, and we fight this corp and this alliance. These are the guys that are bad. These are the people that hunt us when we're not looking. And those are the types of things that we need to do to bring this full circle, is that, yeah, there are politics in Eve that are needed, because that's what makes this game awesome, is that we can form these factions, these player groups that are so dynamic and so robust that we can actually create these billions and billions of ISK fights that, things just blowing up all over the place because we're that emboldened and impassioned to kill each other in space. We need to leave that where it is. There's no need to go any further with it. At the end of the day, if somebody's like, I'm going to kill myself, well, we all need to stop and be like, bro, you okay? Because it is just a game, and that's where it needs to end. There needs to be a hard stop at, fuck goons, fuck test, fuck, brave, fuck wrecking crew, fuck whoever you want to fuck. That's a lot of fucks. I don't know if you're going to have to edit that,
no,
but you know what I mean? But that's my point, is it needs to stop with the game. You need to, look at someone for their corp tag, their alliance tag, and holy crap, there's Cypher, and I'm so excited now.
You see, we started talking about goons, and it summoned his ass.
It did. It's like lighting a Sino. He's all of a sudden on us like a bad smell.
That is very true.
Hey, buddy. So real quick, just everybody, Cypher just joined in with us. He was able to, like I said, he works a lot, and today's his day off, so who's able to sneak in here with us. Syph, what we're talking about right now, I know you can't get on Reddit because you've been permabanned for years.
Yeah.
But and we've already gone through most of this, so we're not going to key on it too much. We're about to move to the next topic. But lately, Matterall and Omeka Gold and a few other Eve meta folks have been dropping terms into their Eve dialogue, like they're using terms like alt-right to describe the goons. Alt-right, deplorable, fascist.
Deplorable applies, but
Well, yeah, but we know what the meaning of this is. They're basically bringing real world politics into Eve, and we were saying that we don't like that. We can hate each other for being whatever. Like, I can't stand the Apocalypse Now guys. It's not that they've done anything to me personally. It's just that every time I'm trying to do shit, their fucking asses are popping up somewhere, and then I gotta go do something else and reship so we can chase them out of the area. So I'm not hating them for being who they are. I'm pissed at them because they're creating their own content, and it's at my expense.
Content, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's okay. That's, to me, that's healthy rivalry in Eve Online. It's escapism. There's groups out there that I don't like. There's groups that don't like us. There's some toxicity in there. I hate using that term because people overuse the term, but there's some bleed over of toxicity. But it's a lot of it's stemming straight from World War B right now, which is there's this huge war going on. Johan, do you have any closing thoughts on our first topic?
I think we have beat that dead horse's ass, and we probably should move on.
Very well. I agree. So this week, so yesterday, PAPI had a little town hall meeting thing and said, basically, my take on it was, because I'm not part of it. We're hardly competent. We're allied with Wrecking Crew. We don't buddy in that war is a target to us. So yeah, but regardless, we're not involved in World War B. We're not involved with it.
Yeah, that's the bottom.
Other than targets of opportunity. PAPI apparently had this little town hall meeting, and they came out and said, we're going to have to go all in, but we're going to take the next week and prepare for that. And we're going to go over to NPC Delve. And depending on who you're reading on what news, it's either they're going over there to crab LOL, or they're prepping to they're trying to cut off escape routes. And then they're going to apparently do a full commit on 1DQ to try to push the goons out of Delve. And thus they can, in their own minds, I guess, declare a victory. So there's a lot of things going on with that we've been seeing on Reddit. The problem is you have to, since it is honestly the best source for news, you have to sift through 6 tons of shit to get one little tiny nugget of goodness.
For neckbeard news.
Yeah, well, yeah, but if you go to INN, you're getting one biased propagandized side, and then if you go anywhere else, it's the direct opposite.
Technically, yeah, it depends on INN. It depends.
No, defend it all you want. It used to be called the Matani.com, bro. It's a propaganda machine, and that's fine. It's for their members, and that's cool. But for people who want to look at it objectively, you can't.
Goon writers, that's the thing.
No, they have goon writers too. Yeah, but think about it. They get paid in this to do it, and they need to throw that on there, dude. Other news, there's news outlets that will bring on someone from the opposite side that they pretty much espouse a belief with. Yeah, and it's the whole point of it is to try to say, see, look, we're fair. Well, it's bullshit.
Trump was right about it. EVE Online has fake news.
Yes, definitely. It's deplorable. Okay, I'll stop with the jokes. So, but seriously, like when you sort through this shit, you can sometimes find some nuggets. And if you put enough of them together, you can kind of maybe see what the picture is. And one of the nuggets that's coming out about this whole thing with Pro God Legends announcement, there's some that's just, I'm like, it's propaganda and bullshit, obviously, like PAPI disbanding in 60 days. Well, we don't know. Maybe it will. It could disband tomorrow. We can get a Matani sends his regards notice and PAPI's dissolved. I mean, it's happened before. Speaking of leaders, is the leader of fraternity, Norris. I don't know if I pronounced that correct. Norris. Okay, so Norris has apparently put out some information that has had a severe impact on PAPI's op tempo.
Financial.
Yeah, it's financial pressure. Johan, can you kind of talk a little bit about that? Like what, just from your take, what you were seeing on that?
Basically looks to me like, and again, we're talking Reddit here. So let's consider the source. It says Norris has told PAPI that they must go all in or they will lose FRT funding and support. So that's the headline. What that actually means, nobody's really going to be able to know. But I do know that, and again, from the Reddit sphere, there is rumors I'm not in FRAT, can't tell you, haven't applied for SRP, but that they're still SRPing capitals. They're SRPing ratting, carriers, and rorquals. And if you look at Z-Kill, the evidence kind of backs that up, that they're still using those ships. Whereas I know a lot of places in the game, that's not happening anymore because of the capital changes. So if that were to happen where FRAT pulls their funding from PAPI, I mean, they still have the Keepstar and HiSec. They still have multiple CTOs that their marketing efforts are generating revenue across the board. And I'm not privy to all that information and who it's shared with. But I think that there's a strong chance that could really affect negatively the war effort on the side of PAPI. And I'm going to just put my politics out there. I hope like hell PAPI wins, just because it'll shake the game up. Goons aren't just going to go away, like you were saying. There's no way Imperium's just gone. They go kick somebody else out, they rebuild, they come back. And then the next Blue Donut's going to be fighting FRAT, because meanwhile, while everybody else is beating their faces into a wall, Fraternity's up there crabbing. Veil of the Silent, man. The economic report speaks volumes about what those boys been up there doing.
Like you said, with the Goons, they're not going to leave the game. I don't want them to leave the game.
God, no.
I don't want them to leave the game. The Goons have been a part of EVE history almost from the beginning, and they've been a driving force.
I don't think anybody can afford for Goons to leave the game. The game needs a villain, right? You know, isn't that what we're all about?
Yeah.
Like, Goons have played the villain. They do it so well. And I think that's just an incredible thing. And I would hate like heck for EVE to lose that dynamic. I mean, even in Udema up in HiSec, you see the Goons doing God's work, keeping the market stocked fresh with new ships that crabs like myself get to build, because, well, they're blowing them up in catalysts, which that's going to be talked about later too. The mighty catalyst. Let's not forget that guy.
Yeah. The queen to the Rifter's king.
Right.
With all this stuff going on with that, I guess what we're seeing now is the leadership of PAPI is coming out and saying they are now agreeing, which they haven't been, that this is endgame and they have to do something. I guess right now we're kind of at the wait and see point again. It's been stagnant. It's been just, I mean, the war in 1DQ has been fought on the EVE subreddit for the past few months, of just mudslinging and propaganda and stupid posts. Like, even right now on Reddit, there are so many goddamn threads about the Pro God Legend, what he said. Every swinging dick goon line member had to go on and post a new thread basically saying the same thing in a different way. And then if Matani were to come out and post something, every swinging dick freaking PAPI member will come out and do this, and that's all it is. Blah 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 blah.
It's time to poop or get off the pot,
yes,
boys.
Yeah, please do something. Just do something for the rest of us in EVE. For Christ's sake, do something.
Let's get PanFam back roaming around in Provi like they're supposed to. Let's get NC docking back up. Did I say that? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Anyway, but yeah, let's get EVE active again. Let's get them out of Delve. I mean, yeah, Delve's a great place to be. Somebody's going to live there until the next guy shows up. But let's get our assets redeployed into the world, boys and girls. Let's see some of these great fights all over EVE instead of just focusing here, because like the name of the podcast says, there is a whole other section of the game that right now is being overlooked because of World War B2 or World War B squared, or who cares, man? Fight it out, get it over with, move on with life.
It's more like Blue Donut War.
Yeah, I mean, You know what? When I think of a donut, it's a hemorrhoid pillow, and right now, this thing is a boil in the butt of this game.
What I found funny about that is, the same Blue Donut that they were against, 5-6 years ago, they are now. And they're still, people like Villy have that freaking, goons did me wrong when I was there, so I'm going to take it out on them. Get over it, dude. Seriously, Villy, chill out, dude. It's a goddamn game. Get over it. You guys act like, third graders.
See, but some of this is good. Like, this is what's going on between Villy and Matani started out as healthy antagonist protagonists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not even banter, like a good rivalry. And there was like, that's it. I've decided I don't like you. I'm going to come take you out and I'm going to get some bros and we're going to do it. And then you make some allies of convenience, because that's all coalitions are, allies of convenience, because there's nothing formal in the game for it. It's, there is no formal system for it. But what happened is we have seen where Mittens is the enemy, Villy is the hero. Through this long ass boring war, what always happens, which is people who think one way during a war about who is the white knight and who is the black knight shifts, because the longer it lasts, you start seeing that your heroes don't wear capes. Vietnam War. We went into the Vietnam War, the U.S. and well, we can go back further with the French, but the U.S. went into the Vietnam War with these lofty ideals of stopping communism in this small country that was having a civil war. And we were going to stop it, and we were going to, aid our allies, and that was it. And we got bogged down by a bunch of rice farmers that turned the whole country against the idea. The whole country. And the guys who paid the price for it were the soldiers who went, whether they were drafted or enlisted. Those were the ones who paid the price for it when they came home. And those of us who are veterans know that, I feel for my older brothers and dads and such that were, our fellow military brethren, because when they came home, they got shit upon because their own country turned against them because of the negative impact of being drawn into something that turned out to be a complete fucking quagmire. That's World War B right now.
Well, and yeah, you've got guys like myself who ultimately just got tired of the fight and came up to find a new fight. And I wanted to be a high-sec crab, and then I was like, no, can't do that. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in any profitable way in this game unless you camp Vegeta and just market trade, or unless you've got 200 alts just going around ice belts, which I'm not interested in either of those. But, it just, there's going to be conflict, but let's get the conflict going.
Yeah, let's have fun conflict. We've known that in our area of operations, there's going to be some content coming up. And we're actually excited about it. Sometimes when people hear that there's content coming to their home in EVE, they get worried. Oh, shit. You get the people they're going to dock up and we're not going to see them for a month. Okay.
Oh, i.e. NC dot.
Yeah. They're going to become risk averse. And as long as that's not the majority of your people, you're going to get that, and it's okay. But for the most part, when you can build some excitement around that content and you make, you turn those lemons into lemonade, that can be a really good thing for EVE. The problem is with World War B, the lemonade has it's gone stale. It's spoiled. So it's good that this is about to happen. Now, on top of
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, well, the Kool-Aid is still, believe me, that we can see that people are drinking the Kool-Aid everywhere on this one.
Is it Kool-Aid or is it grape drink?
Dude, I think some of it's some Faygo.
Hey, because Faygo out of this. Faygo is
you can enjoy it for a little while, but then afterwards you do get the diabetes.
Well, that's okay.
I got the diabetes and I still like Faygo.
Anyway, with all this being said, I'm going to segue this right into our main talk for the day. And that is, it's all based around a quote that popped into my head the other day when I was reading the EVE Online's CCP's post about what is coming up. They're going to end scarcity, or they're going to retract some of scarcity. Yeah, well, we still don't know everything, but I'm going to touch on it briefly. But what popped into my head was a quote from the Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, and the quote is this: "Nowadays, people know the price of everything and the value of nothing." So again, I'm going to throw another sales.
Where did I see that quote? Somewhere else I saw that quote recently.
I've been posting it a lot. It might have been on one of the Discords.
Probably.
Yeah, I've been posting it, but I was attributing it to George Bernard Shaw, and I don't know why I was doing that, because I knew what book it was from, and just for some reason that Oscar Wilde wrote it slipped my mind. So Mr. Wilde, the spirit of Mr. Wilde, I apologize for that. 2 days ago, EVE Online July status update. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm just going to touch on it before we get into this, so there's some background. Over the last few weeks, we've been listening to you, our community, discuss EVE Online's ecosystem, game changes, direction, and overall health. For many, EVE Online is more than a game. It's a hobby, and one you want to make sure is worthy of your considerable time and dedication. And I'm going to add in there, not to mention our money.
Amen.
especially considering, if you've been watching Reddit, which you hear us say 100 times a show, there has been the numbers of subscribers has been going down. There's been a whole movement of boycott CCP, drop your subscriptions, rah rah rah, bitter vet. I don't want to play the game. Well, I'm not one of them. I love this fucking game.
I'm a bitter vet, but I mean, I got to take this stuff in. What's the words I'm looking for? Come on, help me out, guys.
Take it in stride.
Yes.
Moderation.
Yeah.
Moderation is a very good word for it.
Well, and going with that, we've talked about this in the past, Syph. I am a bitter vet as well, but I'm also a fanboy, and I'm a proud fanboy. I'm not a blinded fanboy, but I love this fucking game. I've been playing it for 17 years. I love the game. I love the community, and that's why we do this stupid little show, and we make fun of people that are shitting on the community from within the community and without, because we're protective of our people. So very often these questions are answered at events like FanFest and World Tour, where the view and vision of EVE Online is shared with you, the players, through presentations and casual conversations alike. Unfortunately, this year didn't allow for such conversations, and that end, here's a deeper look into what has been going on for EVE and what is upcoming. I'm not going to go through the recap, but it says here, a healthy ecosystem for EVE to transition successfully into a third decade and beyond. It was clear that work was needed on the foundations of its crucial ecosystem. When the plans were first revealed, the journey for major resource redistribution across the entire game through 3 phases was explained: shortage, redistribution, and dynamic distribution. The shortage phase, or scarcity, has been a challenging road. It has meant tighter belts and a complete shakeup of the institutional knowledge of that EVE players have utilized when it comes to earning ISKN resources. Scarcity, this is what it says, this is verbatim now. Scarcity firmly ends in Q4 2021 with additional resources as well as player choice for what resources to distribute in your sovereign space.
All right, can I strap my tinfoil hat on real quick, guys?
Go for it. Yep.
All right, chin straps on. I've got enough Reynolds wrap on my head right now to tip my neck over. What are the chances that World War B2 was a concerted effort between Test and Goons to A, create content, and B, blow up enough shit that CCP was like, hey, all right, players aren't holding as much in assets now. Maybe we can get off this whole scarcity crap. I mean, that seems to me like a pretty viable thing. Like, that seems to me like it would benefit both Test and Goons and NC and FRAT and everybody if we could get this over with. And what's the best way to end it? And also to provide entertainment for the masses. I mean, let's throw some dudes to the lions here. Let's just put all of our crap in one system, beat the hell out of each other, and see who wins. And in the end, you get a great fight. You get the scarcity over, and you also get all these people who come back to the game. I mean, whenever I remember the meta shows about the Horn of Gondor and how it's been blown and all these people returning to the game and whatever. And all these people came back to Test, and I had friends that I hadn't played with that came back, and it's like, this is a big deal that generated content. And yeah, the subs are down. We've spent a year and a half locked in our houses, man. Of course subs are down. People are like, oh, I don't know, outside. But this was it potentially just a great ploy by 2 really smart guys to get their alliances to beat the hell out of each other to kind of get around CCP's plan?
I feel 2 ways about this. I feel like a Janus mask on this, because on one side, I say you're giving too much credit to these guys. They're not that Machiavellian. But on the other side, we know that Alex Gianturco is a brilliant motherfucker, whether you like him or not.
Absolutely. I will give that to him all day.
And he is very good at one thing.
Strategy.
No. That's both. Strategy is a part of it. He is very good at surrounding himself with people who can accomplish what he sees as the big goal. He is a great guy for team picking, and that is an amazing skill to have, to be able to be a true team builder. You can be the benevolent space tyrant if you want, but eventually something's going to fuck up and you can lose everything. Yep. But if you build that empire and you have people under you or beside you that you've put there because you need their particular skill set and their charisma and whatever else they bring to the table, and you keep those people working together, that is more important than being a space ruler. That really sets you apart.
Oh, sure. And you can't take a thing away from Billy or Mittens on this, because I mean, they've both successfully done what few people in this game have. They've built not just empires, but empires that are enduring. Test was a meme, Goons was a meme, and now they're functioning societies with people who, people have flags outside their house, outside their real life homes, representing which side of this great divide they're on.
Yeah, and you look at the way this has gone down, and it's amazing. There's people who want to study it from the outside world. They're like, wow, this is awesome. And you're right, it's on both sides, and that's what's kind of cool about this. And it's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's books written about it, and good books, as a matter of fact. I love the Empires of Eve books. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially when you read it, if you've been playing for a long time and you start reading things and you're like, oh my God, I was there, or holy shit, I know that guy. It gets kind of cool. It's interesting that this dev blog dropped when it did. It's very interesting to me that it dropped right as.
Do you think it's a player pressure for that dev blog, or do you just think it's CSM or
not CSM? I don't think it's CSM. Unfortunately for those, I love some of those guys that are on there, but they've been defanged.
I think that there's a lot of it that has to do with the active player count. I mean, you get the Rorqual Locust fleet that used to be so common that now doesn't exist anymore. So why are these guys paying for subs for 10 tunes when all they're doing is logging in on the one that's fighting in World War B because they can't crab, Right.
Yeah.
So why in the world do I need 10 tunes when, one or two does me just fine? There's another part that there's the industrialists that truly did just get screwed, like the pure indie guys. I recently have met one of your guys, actually, Frozen, who this dude, along with one of our guys, Cryptics, I mean, these guys together just speak a language I don't understand when it comes to the intricacies of industry in EVE Online.
Yeah, it's fucking boring as shit. It'll put me to sleep in Discord. I love him. I love Frozen to death. I really do. He's become a good friend of mine. But motherfucker, if people will do it on purpose on Discord and Corp chat, they'll be like, if they want me to shut up because I'm constantly running my mouth, they'll be like, hey, Frozen, so can you explain to me a little bit how level 1 PI benefits the Alliance? And I have to get up and walk away from the computer because that's it. He's got the fucking grandstand at that point.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah,
it's the best way to get Spence to shut the fuck up.
Truth.
Yeah, but Fro's a great dude, and he really has a lot of knowledge. And I tell you what, I never did reactions. Like we were down there mining R64 moons and nullsec with Rorks, and all I did was just sell my goo to whoever wanted it because I didn't know the power of the moon goo, right? And this is going to be, to build these awesome things that we're going to talk about with your reference to Oscar Wilde's book. But wow, what a revelation to these indie guys to wake up one morning and all of a sudden, oh yeah, all the stuff that you've enjoyed doing, well, we just took that away. So now you're going to have to depend on these guys in nullsec to get their ore up there. The guys in lowsec, who usually are just PvPers, you don't get a lot of lowsec indie guys. There were not a lot of specialized lowsec indie guys. So that's kind of been a niche that's been developed in this game is, well, you want Noxium, you're going to have to get to be friends with some lowsec guys or get really good at reprocessing rat loot.
Yeah, and we're going to reach out to CCP and have, it's been many years since we've had a dev on the show, but I'm going to see if we can get a dev to come talk about this a bit. And I know CCP in the past used to be very excited to do that, to come on the different podcasts and talk about their dev blogs, not to give insider information, but to kind of get a chance for us to ask some questions and clarify things. And that helps people get a little more comfortable because usually with these dev blogs, everybody has that cautious optimism. And that's when I'm reading this. So a couple more things. So increased quantity of all resources across New Eden. Hooray. That's going to bring back more miners and industrialists. Hopefully. Introduction of moon goo and gas compression. I think they meant moon rock and gas compression, but we know what they meant there.
Oh, God, that's going to be amazing.
And then here's one we're going to probably have to get our tinfoil hats on for again. A balance pass for all mining ships.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's, all mining ships. So I look firmly for, and this is my worst case scenario, is just they take the drones away from the Rourke and make it a boosting ship. And I don't know how to feel about that. I know that as a guy who I have 3 tunes that I play with, that I mine with, I use an Orca and two Hulks in high sec. And yes, if you want to gank me, feel free. I'm good with that. Already replaced, all that. But I really just like that gameplay. And my orca does mine. But at the same time, I'm not the guy who goes to the ice belt in 5 orcas, and my character description is an advertisement for selling ice. So that's not a thing. So all of those of us who actually use these ships as intended and to boost for corp ops and all that, that's going to be a problem. So I'm really excited to see what they do, but I'm also, like you said, cautiously optimistic, half terrified.
I see things happening like it says additional specialized holds for gas and ice. Now it says additional specialized holds. So are they adding things, or are we going to rework some things? Because the way I see it is, and I've been talking about this for a long time, Mackinac should have an ice hold. Make it an
Absolutely.
ice ship. The Prospect,
Didn't it used to?
Yeah, it was the ice vessel back in the day.
Yeah. It had an ice hold, and now they don't. That's kind of dumb.
I don't remember if it had an ice hold, but it had the bonuses for it. But then they did this weird ass pass across all the mining ships, and they basically made them just different flavors of the same. It was, okay, do you want to be ganked quickly, moderately, or slowly, is what all the mining ships became.
Yeah, and the skiff was the one that won that battle because that's the hardest one to kill.
Right. And then like for the tier 1 stuff, we got like the Prockies. We use the Procurers because they're you get a little more tanky, you get some drone bonuses to them, shit like that. So anyway, cheap. Yeah, and they're cheap. You can make them by the dozen. But with this, the way I see it, like, so maybe like the Prospect with the expedition frigates, the Prospect becomes a gas ship because it's good it's good for that. You can cloak up and go into the wormholes and mine your gas. The Endurance maybe gets something weird going on with that. But it says additional specialized holds. It doesn't say anything else. It would be cool. Make like a low slot item that changes what your hold is for. Something like that.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like you can actually tailor, like my Procurer is going to go out and mine ice. So while the Mackinac is better for it, I can put this low slot item in, and it's basically changing my ore hold into an ice hold. It's, it's a refrigerator, and I'm going to go in there and do that.
Right. And that way you actually have to choose.
Yeah. And that would be good. And see, then that's when you can make things like the Retriever. You can make that valuable again. Because the Retriever,
dare you make sense,
right? The Retriever's made of paper, but it has a big hold. You can change out what you're doing that for. Like, okay, we're doing a fleet op to the gas cloud, so we're going to put the gas low in there, and we're going to go out with the Retrievers because we've got combat air patrol in the area, and we're going to fuck up this gas cloud. Just kind of giving that as an example. But anyway, I'm interested to see what that is, but at the same time, I'm a little worried. Rework of the industrial index, including greater choice over the distribution of resources. Okay, something that I've seen a lot of people talking about in the last 48 hours on Discord among some Alliance members, as well as in some other groups I'm in, just, EVE Online general groups, people, different corporations and stuff that talk together. And I saw some people saying, oh, this is going to be great. In our SOV area, we're going to be able to go ahead and, start getting Noxium again. And I was like, I think you guys are missing the point on this. Ore has been distributed, and they've removed Noxium from null. It's a low sec thing now. But if you want to tune your index so that you guys are getting more of a certain resource that normally spawns down there, I think that's what they're saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah. See, I'm of the other, like, I think maybe they're going to allow you to sacrifice one thing for another. So maybe like in system 1, 2, 3, you have, a Veldspar, anomaly. Whereas in system 4, 5, 6, you're still mining Arc and Bistad, or, I'm hoping that's what they mean. But I'm sure there will be certain things that come with it too. They're not going to just completely take us off the leash because they've seen what happens.
Yeah. And if they do that, see, that's what worries me. If I'm a null secker, I would say that's fantastic, because now in my space within our area, as long as our directors set everything up properly, we can mine everything we need. Fan-fucking-tastic. As a low sec guy, I'm saying, hold on a minute, that takes away something that you gave us to try to generate content and income, which is the billions we've been making on gas and Noxium lately.
Oh, man. Yeah. Did not even think about that. And that's a very valid point whenever you start looking at low sec. Which has become an extremely valuable part of the game. And I have truly enjoyed the low sec to low sec wormholes, the, just sneaking through. There's so much underutilized low sec. Holy crap. If we could get some people to realize how amazing this space is. If you don't live there, that's great. Just bust through a gate camp and then go get your stuff. Go grab this gas, these different belts that have spawned. You want to get some crocite? Well, there's your place to get it.
So if they do this right, I think I've been saying this to my guys on Discord since this came out. If 50% of what they put in this dev blog happens, it's going to be an amazing update. So if it's more than 50%, I'm backflips. Thank you, CCP. And PvPers out there that are like, fuck it, I don't care about industry. You should, because the prices of your ships, which are through the roof right now, this is what's going to help that hopefully regulate a bit, is bringing back those industrialists and those miners. It also brings you content because now there's more things to shoot, not just other combat ships, but the non-combat ship fleets that are out there trying to harvest all this shit. It brings back that gameplay that we all liked.
Well, and it also comes back to the capstone of the podcast, which is what is value versus what's something worth. And you now can talk about the value of, being able to get the Rifter, to get like the Tal Wars you guys use, to get a catalyst and go gank miner. What's the value of that versus owning these capital assets?
So last night while we were doing our room in our coalition chat, somebody posted that a Zernitra got popped. Not one of ours. It was a Evictus guy. Got popped by a Battle Rourke and 2 other ships. It's on, this isn't like intel because it's on Zkill. It got popped. The guy had a weird ass fit. He had like a cloaking device on there, no weapons. He was gating the Zernitra. It's a very weird way to move a dread. But anyway, there was a lot of game theory on what he was trying to do with that when he lost it. And we're looking at the price of this thing when it blew up, which was significant.
It's 11.5 billion ISK. It translates on Zkill into $152.70.
There you go. So that guy had a bad day. And our guys had a good day. Our friends, our bros, had a good day for that. However, that again kind of calls back to this. When these wars are going on, we're like World War B, we're now seeing that a lot of the super caps and the Titans are not being undocked since the big battle when all of them were ghosted and so on and so forth. And then industrial changes came out and it became harder to start replacing those ships. And scarcity was in effect, and stockpiles are depleted. In theory, stockpiles are depleted. I still think Mittens has something somewhere that has quadrillions of units of M3 of ore. But for the most part, Eve saw this depletion that scarcity was supposed to do, which I think it just went overboard. And it has created this sense of it is very expensive right now in ISK to replace something, or in real money because you buy Plex. Some of the things that have added to that are things like Zkill and battle reports. And I'm not knocking them. I love them. I have Zkill up right now. Like, it is on one of my monitors at all times because I use it as an intel tool. But looking at the cost of something has become such a factor in Eve that I believe it has taken away a lot from the value of it. So this kind of gets into our talk about like the Rifter. And I know Cypher's probably dancing in his chair over there. But I hate Minmatar ships, but I love the goddamn Rifter. That ship, when I first met Cypher and he introduced me to true PvP in this game, him and his bros put me in a Rifter and said, let's go.
Yep.
And I had more fun in that little inexpensive ship that I could buy on the daily with mining for 20 minutes. I can go buy 10 Rifters completely fit. I've had more fun in a Rifter than in any other combat ship since. And it's inexpensive.
Get into, easy to replace.
Yeah. And see, like, we've got Talwar roams going that we do for our court. When content is low, when everybody's getting bored, and it's the job of the directors of a corporation to create content. That's how Eve is. CCP gives us the tools, but we've got to create the content. We'll do Talwar rooms. We give everybody a completely fit for Talwar. It takes your average alpha about 3 days to get into it, and your average omega about 6 hours because they probably have most of the other skills learned already. We get in Talwars, we pop a filament, and we go kill shit until we die. It costs us all. We blow up one Stratios, and it paid for all of the Talwars.
And some of the other ones.
Oh, yeah. So we're already ISK positive in that sense, just off that roam. But the fact that we're in these little cardboard ships flying around that are basically just a gun and duct tape is a lot of fun to us. it generates that content. Now, that's fun to FC. I don't mind FCing those because I'm a shitty FC. But I don't mind FCing those because if we lose everything, who gives a shit? It's a Welt fleet, right? It's a Yeet fleet. However, if we go out and we're in Serbs or Tengus or something like that, I start getting really, really apprehensive about FCing that fleet.
You just got to be cautious.
And that's the thing, is you have to add a level of caution to it, because now it's a completely different thing, because if we lose those ships, it's going to be hard to replace them. But sometimes that feeling of trepidation and taking those ships out outweighs the fact that we can go just have fun in Tall Wars. Now, it's still fun to bring out the big toys. Absolutely fun to bring out the big toys. You guys got to agree. Being in those little tiny small ships, Rifters, Catalysts, things like that, Merlins, they can be fun.
Oh, without a doubt. I tell you what, I used to love the bait Nereus the best. You know, it was cheap, it was fun. You just get to go out and get somebody to tackle you, but it didn't cost anything. It was fit with rat trash. But yeah, the Rifter's great. And whenever you see a Rifter in local, it's like, all right, so there's two things that go through my mind. Number one, if this guy's in a Rifter, it's because he knows what the hell he's doing with it. And I'm going to think twice, even if I'm in a more expensive ship that's more capable, because holy crap, this guy probably knows what he's doing. Your old school Rifter pilots are really good at flying that ship. And if you look at guys like, I mean, I'm just going to use Tuskers because that's where I get a lot of my fits from, is just checking their losses whenever they do lose something. Well, I mean, I'd keep an eye on what they lose because, well, they've got good fits. But they lose a lot of stuff. And there was one dude recently who was in the Abyss doing the PvP filaments. And this guy just lost like 30 Rifters. But as you're watching his fit change over the losses, and then finally he starts winning a bunch of them, it's like, this is a guy who's scary in this little cheap ship. He's able to take this little thing and get a hell of a lot more fun than you're ever going to get in a Titan ball while you got a Hector keeping you together. You know, there's no reason that we shouldn't really shift, especially in low sec, back to that meta of let's just fly it and die it, and then go get another one, put some kills on the board, and also not be afraid to lose these things, because ultimately the ships are ammunition in this game. I mean, I know we all get attached to them, and I've got my favorites, but the ones you just keep in the hangar are worthless. You know, the worst thing is the bridging Titan. That's great. I mean, yeah, they serve a purpose. Yeah, I appreciate them for getting my freighter from point A to point B. But really, we're gonna build these massive capital ships and then use them to shotgun freighters all over New Eden.
There you go, and that's that whole the whole, you know, putting price tag over value. So to that particular person, the value is the expediency. But to someone like you and me, I'm not going to spend current prices, 160 billion on a fit avatar just to have a mass transit, to have a shuttle bus. First of all, I would, even if I was doing $1 billion a week, socking away to do that, it would take me 3 years to get it, a little over 3 years. So that's insane. But they've made it, you know, that it's out of reach. That's okay. Titans were intended to be a project for large groups of people to have this really cool tool. The problem was when they didn't make the mechanics in the game so much that people couldn't stockpile thousands of them. So again, it comes down to that cost versus reward. Going back to Oscar Wilde's statement, nowadays people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Because I'll tell you what, the first thing we do when we talk about anything in this game, any type of ship, is you name a ship, and what's the first thing people do? They go to look to see how much it costs.
Right. What did it cost on Z-Kill? How much was it? Oh, it was shit fit. It was cheap fit. You know, did it have officer modules on it? I mean, yeah. What's that really worth? I mean, are you going to have as much fun in a ship that you can lose with officer modules? Or are you going to have as much fun just knowing that you put it out there and I just blasted this dude with some T2 and some rat loot?
Yeah. You know, the way we look at it in our corp is we're just starting to get back into capital stuff. And this is a bad time to be getting into capitals unless you had a mothball, because the prices are crazy. However, I've been buying some capitals because there's a value to it for us. For instance, like if we want to be able to take a Rorqual out and do what a Rorqual is supposed to do, which is to be the center of a mining fleet, so that we can get the supplies we need for SRP and all that stuff, because we prefer to build in-house, where that, again, going back to Frozen and in our corp, we can build most of our stuff in-house, and that is huge for our guys. It's a huge draw for recruiting. Is we don't say go to Omar and get a ship when you blow up. It's hold on, we got one, we got you. So, but we need the tools to be able to, get those raw materials. Well, I'm not going to put a Rorqual in the field if I don't have a fax on standby. So I had to get a fax. And our faxes right now worth more than they were a while ago, price-wise? Most certainly. But is the value there for me? 100%. I did not even flinch when I looked at what I was looking at. And Johan, you know what I'm talking about. We kind of talked about it on the back end. I was like, fucking A, perfect. It fulfills my need. There is a value to that ship that I see it paying off in dividends for entertainment, for me and my guys, and for ability to add more content and all that other stuff. So getting back to a value-based play style is kind of a cool thing. And one of the groups that have always, I always try to throw these guys props when I can, because I do like a lot of the things they do. But one of the groups that's very good about having that devil may care, if you lose it, who gives a fuck attitude has been Brave.
Dude, Eve, I won't say that like any one person shits on Brave. Eve shits on Brave. That's just kind of the meme. But at the same time, you're right. Those dudes really do. They get out there. They get the new guys involved. Roll up your shirt sleeves and let's get our asses kicked or go kick somebody's ass.
We've run into like their Spoopy Newbies group or whatever it's called, the Wormholers and all that, where they've popped in down in our area and they filament in. And there's one time they filamented into Masaba. This is months and months and months ago. And there just happened to be like, I forget, like 35 Arton guys on the Masaba undock, which is what they used to do. They would just sit there and farm people coming in for the fire sales. And Masaba undock is notorious for that. And these guys filamented in. And the first thing they started saying was, well, I guess that was a bad filament. And they started laughing as they were all just dying. I mean, just getting slaughtered. But the attitude of, well, shit happens was really refreshing. There's been a few groups through the years that have that. You've got Brave that was like that. You got the Red versus Blue. They were like that. So
I'm glad they're still around. Red versus Blue is a good group.
Yeah, and that was another thing. The whole theory behind that was we're going to have a perpetual war between these two groups, and it's a place to learn how to PvP and have fun with it and not care too much about some of the things that other groups care about. Now, I'm not saying that our group that I'm in, that we don't watch kill boards. We have to, because sometimes dirty kill boards attract the wrong attention, and then, flies are attracted to honey, which is people losing orcas or mining fleets or big expensive blingy ships. And when people look at kill boards and trying to find where's a good place to hunt, well, guess what? You played right into their meta by losing that ship down there. Now we're going to have roamers in our area. And that hurts our, guys that are trying to build our combat ships. So again, just going back to this whole value over price, with this new change coming out where they're going to be retracting the scarcity stuff to, I guess, what they're considering community acceptable levels, hopefully. I'm really hoping that we can get back more to the value over the price. But that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't do it right now. Again, Rifters, Catalysts, Talwars. There's so many ships you can look up out there that you guys can have fun with. We took out a Hecate roam last night. Average cost, Amar price, 77 million for our fit. 4 of us went out. Like I said, we bagged a Megathron and a couple other things. There's only 4 of us, and it was fun. And that Megathron on the kill boards, I mean, if we would have whelped the whole fleet, well, the Megathron outweighed it, so we're risk positive. But you don't have to fly necessarily the big blingy shit to go have fun.
No, that is very true.
Rob, what are some of your favorites, man?
Freaking Rifter, man. That's
Stabbers.
Dangerous. Stabbers are fun, but they've been nerfed over the years.
I like Tornadoes.
Oh, NATOs are fun. There was a guy, an FC Vapor Trails in test, used to take out what we called meme fleet. And I'll tell my favorite meme fleet story. We would take out random crap, or you would take out Fed Navy comets. And the requirement on the Fed Navy comet was that you had the Galente police skin. And he had spam for every system that we jumped in that were checking mining permits. Please have them ready. You'll be assisted soon. And this fleet of like 30 dudes would scatter and go check belts and anoms, and we'd just kill miners and ratters and whatever. But one night we were over in Goon Space, and we found this dude who he got out, but he didn't get his MTU out. So we started a Reddit firestorm because we ejected some Plex and let the MTU slurp it up, and then posted it on Reddit with screenshots and the kill mail that the reason that goons were so rich was because goon rats drop Plex. And everybody's like, oh my God. And it's like, no, those are just a bunch of drunk test guys on a roam in some Fed Navy comets that just so happened to put some Plex in an MTU and then hope to God it dropped whenever it did. And most of it did drop, thank God. But it was just hilarious. The people were just like up in arms, like, oh my God, what is this? It was just a meme. It was just fun.
That's fantastic. See, that's that, tying this whole thing, this whole conversation we've had together, that goes back to like the friendly rivalries where you're shitting on the goons and you're causing problems for them, but it's within the game and it's fun and it's funny.
Oh, it was great because you had goons that were like, yeah, how the hell do you think we got so many Titans? How the hell do you think we, and but it was good natured on both sides. And you did have your, oh my God, I knew it the whole damn time, I'm quitting Eve. You had those guys on there and it's like, really, you really believe this? But I mean, I guess that makes it worth it for me.
Yeah, those are the guys we really don't want hanging around anyway. Those are the guys that post 7 or 8 times in the subreddit about how they're unsubbing their accounts, and CCP should be scared because of that.
Yeah, don't worry. There's enough of us diehard nerds that aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, I got you can take your 3 accounts away. I still got my 5. There's been some crazy shit going on lately. There's been some interesting talk going on lately. And now we're seeing that there might be some light at the end of the tunnel, and it may not be a freight train. I'm excited to see where things go. I'm actually happy to have positive news from CCP and for Eve. So we are going to reach out to CCP and get one of their. We'll get somebody on here. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a dev, but it might be. Maybe we can get Swift on the show. Somebody that'll be willing to kind of talk a little bit about it and maybe tell us, the thought process about the, their vision for right now. We can't get insider information or anything like that. That's not how it works. But hearing it from one of their mouths definitely makes it interesting and a little more realistic.
Yeah, definitely get a different perspective, and maybe if anybody wanted to poke on Discord or something with some questions, that'd be cool. We could possibly set up a way to do that. That'd be awesome. Hell, I'd be happy to talk to the guy who sweeps the floor at CCP. I'd feel official.
Yeah, and you know what? For those folks who
knows more anyway.
Right? Yeah, he's the one taking out the trash. He's looking at all the things. What's this? World of Darkness, White Wolf, what? Anyway, sorry, I'm having flashbacks. That being said, we're going to kind of wrap up here. We'll do our final takes on all this, but I just want to say that after, like I said, this month was 17 years of being a member of the Eve community, and I still love it. I've had times where I hate it and fuck Eve like everybody else, but I'm feeling like we're going to be here for a while, and that is a really cool thing. Rob, you got anything you want to wrap up with before we give it to Johan?
Yeah, all you nerds that think that Goons is going to die because you blew up 1DQ. Remember when you blew up Declan? Yeah, they didn't die then either. Get your heads out of your asses. It's not going to work. And forget it, and go shit and crab in your fucking little blue donut, bitches.
You just can't. You could take the cipher out of the goons, but you can't take the goon out of the cipher.
Well, no, long time SA member. I'm not gonna deny that.
Well, we're gonna see what's gonna happen. I'm hoping that there's some really awesome fireworks in the last few weeks, or quote unquote last few weeks of this war. So we'll see what happens. Johan,
I'm gonna say that I hope that Villy and the boys in blue pull this off, because I really just want to see what it does for the game. I think the goons are going to come back stronger than ever. And something tells me that Test and goons won't have to worry about each other, because they're going to have to worry about FRAT, who's been ignored this whole time and has been just building their empire. I think if we can all just not be dicks on a real world level in this game and just be dicks in local, let's shit on the appropriate parties here. And everybody grab a rifter, grab a catalyst, Galente for life, man. Let's do that.
That'd be so much fun. And I know there's groups out there that do it. There are, but the problem is when a group of like Tall Wars, when we go out in the Tall Wars, we get about 10 systems deep on a filament, and then we got people dropping massive, Tech 2 groups and shit on us, which is what we expect. But we're always like, okay, if we can take out that one right there, we take out that Saber, that paid for our whole freaking Tall War roam, so let's go ahead and do it.
Brain the one guy who came out early, and we'll move on.
Yep. Like remember that station bash we did where the Good Sacks guys had that awesome tornado fleet that would warp into their ping. They'd fire, they'd take out a ship, they'd warp out because they were just alphaing people. And it was like, wow, how are we going to counter this? And then all of a sudden their FC made an accident and he didn't warp the whole fleet and the whole thing fell apart.
Came apart at the seams.
Yep. But the cool thing was, even in local, he was like, mistakes were made. Like everyone had fun. Like it sucked that they lost their tornado fleet and, they gave us the upper hand, but it just goes to show you how something like that can happen. But here you got these little these tornadoes, which are not expensive ships at all, but you bring in, I think there was like what,
their guns
a dozen of them
more expensive than the freaking ship itself.
Yeah. And then when you put a dozen of them together, which is basically like taking a bunch of grenade launchers and duct taping them together with one stick as a trigger, and they alpha something, it doesn't matter how much logi you have on the field, it's not going to survive the hit. So like that's what they were doing, and it was like, damn, that's effective and inexpensive. But one whelp and it's all over. But there was fun in that. Like I'll always remember that as one of the cool interactions we've had with inexpensive ships. But the value was there.
I really enjoyed the you remember the one in Seguin that we bashed, and they manned it, they gunned it. And we're just out there with just huddled under with 4 Bassies and like 8 Drakes trying to get through the shield timer on this stupid Astra house. And it took us what? It had to be over an hour because we didn't have the DPS to do it.
Yeah, but with our mean fleet.
Yeah, just stay balled up. Everybody stay balled up. And we did it, and it was good fights in local. The guy was like, "I'm surprised you survived."
Drake's with
like, we are too.
Drake's with shield boosters, and then one guy running 4 Bassies keeping us all alive. It was fucking awesome.
But it was awesome for less than $1 billion ISK.
Yep, it was a lot of fun, and we got to take Drakes out. Which come on, Drakes are the joke. But I love the Drake.
Can I bring a Drake?
Can I bring my Drake? I did that.
I can't bring my Drake. I'm not coming.
I did that to Martin Lockhart the other day, and he didn't even answer me. He was like, all right, fleet up, we're doing this. I was like, can I bring my Drake? And he just didn't even answer. I was like, fuck.
You know what we need to do on the next fleet, like the next response fleet that he pings, just bring Drakes.
Just show up in Drakes. And you know what? Martin's such a cool guy that he'd probably laugh about it and be like, okay, next time Serbs, but yes, you're here. Come on, bring your fucking Drakes. There's 8 of you in Drakes. Okay, it's a Drake fleet.
Oh, God. Guys, I have had an awesome time. This has been amazing. I hope I get to come and play again.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and I was glad that Cypher came and hot dropped us here. So it sucks that you got to work. I get it. I'm not knocking it, and that's just you work so hard and so much, and it's just it really is a value to have you on here when you're able to get on. So we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, I just didn't know what time you were doing this shindig, but I got here.
Yeah, we'll try to make the schedule a little more accessible. A little more knowledgeable with when it's going to be. But okay, so we're going to wrap it up there. Next week, I don't know what the show will be about. I'm hoping we can have a special guest. I had reached out to a couple guys about doing interviews. I sent them our pre-interview questionnaire that we send them so they know what kind of questions we're going to ask. They had already said they wanted to come on the show, and I didn't hear back from any of them, which is kind of disappointing because 2 of them are within our own coalition, and that was kind of disappointing. So fuck those guys.
Well, I know one of them is, I believe, in Iceland right now.
Well, that makes sense. Sense.
I just saw his wife post about what they're going to be doing for the next week, and it had a map of Iceland.
Cool. I love Iceland. It's beautiful.
Well, I tell you what, I could possibly bring some friends from Test and see if I could get one of the guys who's an FC for Test to come in and answer questions, as long as Cypher promises not to motherfuck him out of the channel.
Oh, I will motherfuck any Test member because I was there. I have seen it firsthand. I have been to the Bacon Bar, which does not exist anymore. I've been there when Test was really a bunch of freaking noobs.
Well, That would be awesome. And something that Cypher and I were talking about the other day that we need to get on the show. Back in 2012, we had this young, I think he was a high school kid at the time, who was making waves on Reddit because of some comments he made, but he was a young FC. He wanted to FC, and he was being kind of controversial, and we wanted him on the show to give his take on why people were like shitting all over this kid. And he turned out to be a really cool kid, and I enjoyed it. And I saw his name pop up the other day because I think he's one of the senior FCs right now in some parts of Eve, and that's Alpha Star Pilot. Alpha Star Pilot. I remember him when he was a kid, and I want to try to get Alpha Star Pilot back on the show because it's going to be like, okay, buddy.
If his balls dropped yet or not, because the last time I talked to him, his balls had not dropped.
Yeah, it was like 9 years ago that we talked to him. So I would actually like to get him back on the show. So we might reach out to him because his name's been popping up again with some of the internal drama with PAPI and whatnot.
That's awesome.
So Evolution's around anymore because he is hilarious to have on a show.
So yeah, we'll reach out to some folks, try to get some interviews. The interviews tend to be more fun than people hearing me fucking prattle on. So, all right, well, that's it for this week. Thank you guys for listening to Eve Lowlife. Please share it with your friends. Please let your mom listen to this and just tell her that we drop the fuck bomb a lot. And if you've got anything you want to add, or you would like to come on the show and talk about something, or there's a topic you'd like to discuss, hit us up. My name in game is Aradus Gunnell, AradusGunnell. You can also reach out to Cypher, CHYPH3R, or Johan Pendersen, JOHANPENDERSEN. Thanks, and have a good day. Hey, wait, you listened all the way to the end? You sexy beast. Thanks for checking out Eve Lowlife, our little EVE Online podcast about low-sec life. We hope you enjoyed it. Please keep an eye out for our future episodes and feel free to get in touch with the hosts in-game, Cypher, CHYPH3R, or Aradus Gunnell, ARADUSGUNNELL. Remember, we do allow sponsorships and advertising on the show, paid in ISK, not real money. If you'd like us to plug your corporation or alliance, an upcoming event, or whatever else EVE related, reach out to us to discuss. We can help you make your ad, or you can design your own. Well, that's enough of this shit. Thanks for listening. Later, nerd.